Hello again. I'm Dr. Tessa and welcome to the marvelous spinal cord, a journey through our body's information superhighway. I hope everyone's synapses are firing and ready to learn about the fascinating world of spinal cord tracts. In the previous section, Dr. Brainiac explored the fundamental structure and organization of the spinal cord. We learned about its protective housing, the vertebral column, its personal bodyguards, the meninges, and its internal organization into segments. We also delved into the gray matter with its butterfly-shaped cross-section housing important neuron cell bodies, and the surrounding white matter with its information superhighways. This intricate structure allows the spinal cord to efficiently relay messages between the brain and the rest of the body, controlling our movements, sensations, and even our internal organ functions. Section 2: Tracts of the spinal cord, the information superhighways. Now that we've got the basics down, let's zoom in on those information superhighways we mentioned earlier, the tracts of the spinal cord. These are like specialized lanes on our neural freeway, each carrying different types of information to and from the brain. Ascending tracts, the upward bound. First, let's look at the ascending tracts. These are the ones carrying sensory information up to the brain. It's like they're constantly texting the brain about what's going on in the body. Dorsal column tracts. The dorsal column tracts are like the luxury lanes of our sensory highway. They transmit the fancy stuff, conscious proprioception, vibration, and two-point discriminative touch, the ability to tell that two nearby points touching your skin are indeed two separate points. These tracts start with sensory receptors in your skin, muscles, tendons, and joints. The information then travels all the way up to the primary somatosensory cortex in your brain. It's like a first-class, non-stop flight from your big toe to your brain. Spinothalamic tracts. Next, we have the spinothalamic tracts. These are divided into two main groups. Lateral spinothalamic tract. This is your arch and the pathway. It carries sensations of pain and temperature from sensory receptors in your skin and subcutaneous tissues up to the primary somatosensory cortex. Anterior spinothalamic tract. This one's responsible for pressure, texture, and light touch. It's like the gossip column of your nervous system, always ready to tell your brain about the latest sensations. Spinocerebellar tract. Last but not least in our ascending tract family is the spinocerebellar tract. This is the unconscious proprioception superhighway. It carries information from proprioceptors in your muscles, tendons, and joints straight to your cerebellum. It's like your body's own GPS system, constantly updating your brain about where all your body parts are, even when you're not thinking about it. Descending tracts, the downward spiral, but in a good way. Now, let's switch gears and talk about the descending tracts. These are the ones carrying motor commands from your brain down to your muscles. They are like the drill sergeants of your nervous system, backing orders to your muscles. Corticospinal tracts. The corticospinal tract is the big kahuna of motor control. It's divided into two main parts. Lateral corticospinal tract. This is the main highway for voluntary muscle control. It starts in the primary motor cortex of your cerebrum, crosses over, or decussates, in the medulla oblongata, and then continues down the opposite side of your spinal cord. It's like your brain's remote control for precise movements. Anterior corticospinal tract. This tract is all about the core and neck muscles. It influences posture and gross movements. Interestingly, about 10% of these fibers don't cross over, preferring to stay on the same side of the body. Reticulospinal tract. The reticulospinal tract is like your body's autopilot. It originates in the reticular formation of the brainstem and doesn't bother crossing over to the other side. This tract is all about rhythmic movements, like walking, and also plays a role in your autonomic nervous system. Think of it as the DJ of your nervous system, keeping your body grooving to a steady beat. Vestibulospinal tract. Last but not least, we have the vestibulospinal tract. This one's all about balance and posture. It starts in the vestibular nuclei of the brainstem and gets input from your inner ear, cerebellum, and other motor areas. Its job is to control the proximal limb muscles that keep you standing upright. It's like your body's own balance beam artist, constantly making tiny adjustments to keep you from toppling over. The Babinski sign, when toes tell tales. Before we wrap up this section, let's talk about something called the Babinski sign. This is a reflex that doctors use to check for problems in the corticospinal tract. Normally, when you stroke the sole of an adult's foot, their toes curl downward. But if there's damage to the upper motor neurons in the corticospinal tract, the big toe will go up instead, and the other toes will fan out. It's like your toes are trying to wave a red flag to say, hey, something's not right up here. Let's summarize section 2. In this section, we've taken a grand tour of the spinal cord's information superhighways. We've explored the ascending tracts, the dorsal column, spinothalamic, and spinocerebellar, which carry various sensory information up to the brain. We've also delved into the descending tracts, the corticospinal, reticulospinal, and vestibulospinal, which bring motor commands down from the brain. We've learned how these tracts are organized, where they originate, where they end up, and what kind of information they carry. We've also touched on the Babinski sign, a key indicator of upper motor neuron damage. Understanding these tracts helps us appreciate the complex and efficient way our nervous system manages the constant flow of information between our brain and the rest of our body. Time for some review questions. What type of information does the dorsal column tract transmit? The answer is sensory information about conscious proprioception, vibration, and two-point discriminative touch. Where does the lateral spinothalamic tract transmit information to? The answer is primary somatosensory cortex. What type of information does the spinocerebellar tract transmit? The answer is unconscious proprioceptive information to the cerebellum. What is the largest motor tract? The answer is the corticospinal tract. Where does the lateral corticospinal tract decussate? The answer is in the medulla oblongata to the contralateral side of the spinal cord. What does the reticulospinal tract control? The answer is rhythmic gait patterns and the autonomic nervous system. Where does the vestibulospinal tract originate? The answer is in the vestibular nuclei of the brainstem. What is a positive Babinski sign indicative of? The answer is an upper motor neuron injury. What percentage of corticospinal axons do not decussate? The answer is about 10%. What type of motor neurons are within descending tracts? The answer is upper motor neurons. Alright neuroscience ninjas, it's time for our second dance break. This time, we are going to do the tract tango. This dance not only gets your blood flowing but also helps reinforce the different tracts we've just learned about. Plus, it's a great way to remember that your spinal cord is always busy, constantly tangoing those messages up and down your body.
4, 3, 2, 1. Cuatro, tres, dos, uno.
Wow, everyone! That was quite a tract tango. I hope you're all feeling like neural information superhighways yourselves now. In section 3, we will be hearing from the esteemed Dr. Chloe Cranium. She will be delving into the critical topic of spinal cord injuries and related conditions. I'm Dr. Tessa, and thank you for being here.